Okay, sir, just a minute. So, sir, is 3, 2, 1. Over to you, sir. You can start the session.
Thank you very much. So, good morning, friends, and welcome to Life Pharma Coalition, a global knowledge and networking platform for pharma professionals. As you know, every Sunday, 11 o'clock, we go live on Facebook and YouTube, and we invite industry experts to share their views on current challenges and best practices across pharmaceutical industry. You all will agree with me that dynamics of pharmaceutical industry is changing dynamically and landscape is changing. Lot of stringent regulatory rules are coming, and not only that, there is a dry pipeline of new molecule. In this situation, it is very important for the organizations to focus on their strategies. So today's topic is around that. You must have heard that culture eats the strategy in breakfast, right? So culture of the organization is very much important to take the strategy executed in the field. So today we will discuss about what is the importance of strategy and how we can make sure that strategy will work for the organization. And talk on this, we have our own co-team member and mentor of Life Pharma Coalition, Anil Fernandez, sir. Sir, thank you very much for accepting our invite and coming to LPC after a long time. You have been a guiding force for LPC in our journey, sir. Thank you very much once again. Anil sir is having more than 3 decades of experience in pharmaceutical industry and in companies like Sanofi Aventis and Piramal Healthcare. His last stint was with Integris as a chief business officer. Sir is having a mixed experience in sales as well as marketing. So, sir, thank you very much. And currently, sir is the founder director of Slim Solutions, which talks about, which is the consulting consulting organization helping organizations to finding the performance gaps and developing strategies and intervention to fill those gaps. Sir, it is focusing on strategy, leadership, innovation, and marketing. These are the 4 pillars of Slim Solutions. So, sir, a brief overview of the topic. Anil sir.
Sure. Thank you very much, Yashwant ji and ICSG for the invite. It's always a great pleasure and honor to be associated in any way on an LPC platform, which has sustained itself for more than 3 years now. I remember, the thought was like a seed that was germinated 3 years back. And it's really gratifying to see how this seed has grown into a huge tree. And people from pharma industry, they are definitely experiencing the shade of LPC and the fruits of LPC as well as the tree, which has grown to size in more than 3 years. I think you people, the executive committee, have done a great job in nurturing LPC. And not only the executive committee, but I think the entire fraternity who stands behind LPC, their support and their commitment has taken it to where it stands today. So the topic for today is basically something that's very close to my heart. And strategy, as you know, is the very foundation on which the successes of businesses are built. So today we will try to dissect this foundation and see how we can make this foundation work to make our strategies more impactful in the marketplace. As you have said, our dynamics have undergone a massive transformation, and the focus is more on delivering value to our customers. So, how does value get interwoven into our strategy, and how do we unleash the might of our strategy to secure a competitive advantage is what we will be briefly discussing today.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. We look forward to learn from you. And along with me, as a co-moderator, we have our own ICS Verma, sir. Sir, thank you very much. I remember ICS, sir, you are a part of Plus Global Strategy, right? And you have visited many countries on implementing SAP and strategy. So what is your opinion about the importance of strategy?
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much, Yashwant, and welcome Anil sir to this forum, because you are being one of the very supporting member and a mentor to LPC. And so when it comes to the topic, what we're talking about, the marketing strategy or even a strategy as a whole, it's very important because strategies are most of the times made in, the glass chambers, most of the times in the boardrooms. But the most strategies succeed because if you understand the ground reality and the dynamics, as Anil sir was mentioning in the beginning itself, now the industry is going through a transformation, and the people are now more into the customer value rather than just increasing the brand value. So definitely it's going to be one of the very interesting topic, and definitely we'll have a fruitful discussion going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. I request all the audience also to keep on sharing their learning and their opinion about strategies. And we will take the questions after the session is over. Before we start the session, a quick overview of our forthcoming conclave I would like to share with the audience, as we are very much excited. Right. LPC, Life Pharma Coalition, a global knowledge and learning network for pharma professionals. We go live every Sunday on Facebook and YouTube. These are the core team members who always support us in taking LPC to the newer height. And this is our group of mentors, advisors who always support us, who come live also sometimes, who come in conclave and we guide us to take LPC to a learning and sharing platform. We are very much grateful to each one of them. LPC Pharma Ratna Award, what we are very much proud of, and we dedicate this award to all our viewers and core team members and speakers. These are some of the glimpses of LPC 100 Conclave Mumbai, LPC 125 Conclave at Ahmedabad, LPC Conclave 3.0 at Navi Mumbai, and very recently LPC 150 Conclave in Hyderabad, Naipur. And we are now set to have another excited landmark going to touch, that is LPC 175 Conclave at Mumbai, 175 glorious episodes of learning and sharing. This episode is going to witness one of the wonderful session. And in this, you can see, these are some of the eminent speakers who are going to grace the occasion. The theme for this conclave is Future of Pharma, Challenges, Opportunities. And some of the eminent speakers who are going to come are Mr. Yogesh Kausal, President, India Business, Alchem Laboratories, Mr. O.P. Singh, Group CEO, Acumes Drug, Mr. Venugopal Vijayendran, President, Intas Pharmaceuticals, Mr. Shahbaj Alam, he is the President of Pharma Ratna, Manoj Saxena, sir, MD, Bayer India, Southeast Asia, Dilip Singh Rathore, President, JV Pharma, Gagan Atreya, sir, President of Eris Pharmaceuticals India Business, Mr. Sheikh Barakatullah, Senior VP and Commercial Head, Acute Business of Cipla, Devasi Sarkar, sir, Senior VP and Head, Emerging Markets, Aurobindo, Mr. Sharik Khan, Senior VP India Business, RX Laboratory, Mr. Arun Kumar, Associate President, Indchemy Health Specialties, Hirak Bose, sir, Senior VP and Vertical Head, Lupin Laboratories, Ramesh Junaya, sir, Founder Director, Carrier City, Archis Joshi, Commercial Head, Dr. Reddy's Laboratory, Mr. Amrendra Kumar, VP and Cluster Head, JB Pharma, Mr. Susil Kumar Barkur, EVP, L&D, OD and TM, Alchem Laboratories, Mr. Sandeep Day, Chief Business Officer of Acumentis, Mr. Rupak Rathore, GM, HR and Admin Zadas. And just now, Anil sir has also confirmed us. So Anil Fernandez sir will also be there as a speaker. So thank you very much for confirming your attendance. We look forward to learn from you. And the date is Sunday, 3rd of September 2023. The venue is Auditorium, SIS School of Business Studies, Nerul, Navi Mumbai. So we look forward to each and every viewer who have a grand celebration of 175 episodes of learning and sharing. Thank you very much. With that, let us come to today's session, and that is about how you should ensure the strategy works. And for that, I hand over to Anil Fernandez, sir. I request all the viewers to keep on sharing their knowledge, opinion, and questions. Over to you, Anil, sir.
Thank you very much, Yashwant sir and ICS sir. Thank you. So let's get on to the topic straight away.
Yes, sir.
So as I mentioned, we will talk about the very foundations of business and what are the key ingredients that get into spelling success for your strategy and through your strategy for your business. So I would like to begin with the quote taken from Michael Porter from his book Competitive Advantage, which is one of the most respected books one can ever find when it comes to strategy, competitive intelligence, or competitive advantage. So what Michael Porter say about strategy? As we know, the crux of a strategy lies in the realm of differentiation. You have to stand different from your competitive set in order to be perceived as value to your customers. So for that, it means consciously making a set of choices. And that's where strategy comes in. Strategy is nothing but a conscious set of choices that you choose very differently from your competitive set to deliver value to your customers. So now in today's fast-paced world, there is a constant emphasis, as you can see here, on improved productivity, enhanced quality. As customers become more discerning, they want the best of quality at best of value. And the speed becomes imperative in order to secure a first mover advantage or an early mover advantage. So in today's fast-paced rat race of competition, management tools have focused on areas like total quality management, benchmarking industry best practices or benchmarking competition to see how they stand distinct and what is it that we can do to replicate their model. So benchmarking also is becoming a very, very critical aspect today in large organizations and even in the mid-sized organizations. Time-based strategies like just-in-time strategies to make sure that between your production cycle and the availability of your products to your customers happens at the fastest pace. And also your timing in terms of new product launches. It's very critical today to succeed for new products to come out in the market fast, early, and secure that first mover advantage or early mover advantage. So time-based strategies also are acquiring a lot of importance today in organizations. Well, we can't do everything on our own, and therefore organizations resort to outsourcing. So there are best of practices available with people who have that capabilities and competence, and we integrate those capabilities and competence into our business. In licensing has acquired a lot of importance over the years, and we have seen in the case of patented products which have been given to large Indian companies so that there's larger share of voice and therefore greater awareness for those molecules in our environment today. And it's a lot about change. Today, our environment is going through dynamic changes. The way in which we engage customers today is radically different from the way we were engaging customers even a year back. So today, as ICS sir said, the paradigm is changing from customer relationship management to customer value management. The importance of technology has reached sky high today. And it is very imperative on organizations to integrate technology into their sphere of operations in order to add value for customers. So these are the management tools that organizations have adapted to and integrated in their operations in order to meet the demand for quality, speed, and productivity. But the question to ask here is, are these gains translated into sustainable profitability? Well, friends, the answer is clearly in the negative, because at best, all these areas, TQM or benchmarking, etc., all these areas, they represent at best what is known as operational effectiveness. In order to transform this into sustainable competitive advantage, one needs to have strategy at the very core. So coming back again to our understanding of strategy, it's an integrated set of choices that you consciously choose in order to impart an element of distinctiveness to your business in the eyes of your customers versus your competitive set. When they perceive an element of distinctiveness, that is when there is a pure overlap between your capability, your offering, and the need of the customer. And today, the imperative for strategists is to find that common zone between the need of the customer and between your capability that intersects beautifully to deliver value to your customers. So, as I mentioned, one has to be very clear. You can't confuse operational effectiveness with strategy. Operational effectiveness means doing all these different sets of activities in a different way or a more efficient way as compared to your competitive set. So maybe your processes are more efficient, which results in better quality, less wastage, and more productive. So that gives you what is known as an operational effectiveness. But in order to convert this operational effectiveness into a sustainable competitive advantage, one needs strategy at the very heart. And when you combine operational effectiveness with strategy, and when that is perceived by your target customers, that is when you have acquired a distinctive competitive position in the eyes of your stakeholders. Let us take any one example from our industry today. Take, for example, Mankind, which is a very, very successful business model. Now, if you look at Mankind's set of activities that it pursues, the focus is on acquiring cost leadership. So whether it is in their supply chain, whether it is in the procurement of their raw material, in the backward integration, in the manufacturing, their systems and processes are configured in such a way that it delivers cost leadership in their overall operations. They are able to manage their cost heads much more efficiently, as a result of which the benefit of their efficiency can be passed on to their customers. And that gives them the leeway in order to improve their access across the length and breadth of the country, including the rural areas, to be perceived of great value to the need of the doctors, both in rural areas as well as in the urban. So what happens is, when you choose your strategy, it ultimately boils down to how you perform the different set of activities in your business. So the different set of activities comes to manufacturing, your backward integration, your process of procurement of raw materials, the entire process of QC, manufacturing, supply chain, dispatch from your warehouses to your stockists, to the retailers, and finally to the patient, your sales and marketing operations, your training, your medical, your customer service. All these are different sets of activities. And all these activities together are configured to make sure that your value chain either focuses on cost leadership, or either it focuses in terms of improving quality so as to enhance customer value proposition. So one definitely has to have a core competence that you can preserve. So the focus in your set of operations, whatever you do in your value chain, is finally to have a difference that you can preserve. And when you deliver higher value, or when you deliver value at comparative cost versus your competition, that is when you set to have a differentiator, or that is when you're set to have a value proposition which you can sustain in order to create a competitive advantage. So either you are lower cost, which gives you a scope for improving your profitability, or you deliver comparative value, you're almost the same at a lower cost, or you deliver a higher value to your customers. So basically, your strategy ultimately boils down to how you perform your value chain activities. And it is your choice, it is your call and your imperative as a business. What is it that you want to achieve? Do you want to achieve cost leadership, or do you want to achieve differentiation leading to customer value proposition? So there is a Mankind model. If you look at the airlines, there is another model of low-cost airlines. In low-cost airlines, what do you see? There is no frills. So the value chain is configured in order to deliver value in terms of cost to their class of customers. But if you take the full service airlines, you have a lot of frills. There is an experience. There is that personal touch. There is that comfort. There is a meal, everything that you can think of on a full fare flight. So the value chain is configured more in terms of differentiation and more in terms of enhancing customer value proposition. So either you deliver value or you deliver comparable value at a lower cost. That is when you set to have a differentiation versus your competition. And you should have a differentiation that you can preserve in order to have a sustainable competitive advantage. So with this background, let us now understand the lens through which we look at strategy. And here I will talk about a model that was propounded by A.G. Lafley, who was the former CEO of Procter & Gamble. I first came across this 7 or 8 years back, and this has stuck within me as the very core of strategy. So today, if any of my team members come to me and talk to me about strategy, I ask them to take me through these 5 lenses. Or if I talk about strategy to my stakeholders, I will talk about strategy in the context of these 5 lenses. So these are the 5 core aspects of strategy. It first begins by defining your winning aspiration. The second thing that you will figure out in your strategy is, where do we want to play? And having figured out where do we want to play, the third thing which is very important is, how are we going to win? And then you have to clearly list down what capabilities you must possess so that you can win in those segments where you choose to play. And finally, what management systems do we need in order to make our strategy work and to ensure that our performance is in line with the strategy as well as the objectives that is enshrined in our strategy. So in the course of the discussion today, we will spend time on these 5 aspects in order to building a strong foundation for your strategy and ensuring that your strategy delivers. So let's begin with the first lens of our strategy formulation. It all begins by defining what is my winning aspiration. My dear friends, please note the focus is on the word winning aspiration. It's not talking about just aspiration. It's talking about a winning aspiration. That is because you are in the market to win over your customers, to win over the competition, to win in your industry. You are not there as a participant. You are competing in your environment with the sole desire to win. So what are examples of winning aspirations? Take, for example, in a given therapy area, I am in the top 3. So I set a winning aspiration. Instead of saying that I'll grow at 12%, I will say that in next 1 year, I will move from 3rd rank to 2nd rank. And in 3 years' time, I will move from rank number 3 to rank number 1. So I want to create a distinctive position in the minds of my target audience that in the therapy area of hypertension or in the therapy area of breast cancer, I am the number 1 player whom you can always bank on in terms of the quality of my products that provides benefit to your patients, and in terms of the services that I provide you, and in terms of the scale in which I stand in that particular therapy. So it's all about a winning aspiration. If you're in the top 15, in the next 3 years, you may want to be in the top 10. Now, you cannot do this entirely organically. So it will involve a hybrid mix of organic as well as inorganic routes in order to make a roadmap to reach a strategic goal of being in the top 10. So this winning aspiration is something that must be communicated down to the rank and file of everybody in the organization. And whether I'm in the production division or whether I'm in R&D, whether I'm in medical, whether I'm in finance, whether I'm in sales, whether I'm in marketing, right? Everybody, their goals and their KRAs are aligned to the goal of the organization in terms of the winning aspiration. So everybody is clear about what role they have to play and what is going to be the impact of their contribution in terms of achieving the organization aspiration. So the clarity of thought will lead to synergy in terms of common beliefs and common actions of the entire force of the organization to propel the organization towards its cherished dreams and winning aspirations. So that is the first lens, the thought of which strategy actually begins with. Now, having defined where your winning aspiration, the next thing that you will talk about in your strategy is, where do we play? So if you look at where do we play, segmentation and targeting clearly come under the ambit of where do we play. So you segment your customers. So take, for example, like a Mankind, you may decide that I will be the pioneer when it comes to class 5 towns and beyond and in rural areas. There's a huge growth opportunity, and I build my capability and I configure my value chain in such a manner that I will have that kind of a capability will be unmatched by any of my competitors in order to have that reach and in order to have that service and in order to deliver value to those customers. So I define the segments or the boundaries in which I will play by looking at the segmentation and targeting of my customers. You may want to even look at the life stage of the customers. Perhaps you may feel that the young doctors are going to be the future KOLs, and you might want in your strategy to put disproportionate amount of resources on the young customers so that you create a pool of future-ready KOLs to propel your business forward. So segmentation can happen through demographics, that is age, years of experience, qualifications, geography. So these are certain aspects in which you can segment your customers. You can also segment your customers by their behavior. So take, for example, if you are marketing a brand of Tell Me Sartan, then in terms of behavior, you might choose prescribers of other brands of Tell Me Sartan or prescribers of other antihypertensive agents whom you can shift towards your brand. So you will define your segmentation. And after you define your segment, you will then come down to targeting. Targeting is nothing but prioritization of your customers from most important to least important. What we talk about in terms of ABC, in terms of the patient flow, in terms of their prescription potential, because we want to reach out to the high profitable customers where we can get the maximum impact for our resources. So targeting is a very, very important aspect, and it comes under the ambit of where we will play. So you will prioritize your customers as A, B, and C, and accordingly, your resource allocation will be customized to the level of priority of these customers. So you may want to choose your most high profile customers for your most valuable inputs or your most valuable resource. And accordingly, you may go down the line when it comes to moderate level of potential and a low level of potential. So you calibrate your resources, you calibrate your inputs and customize based on the priority of A, B, or C. So that also comes under the ambit of where do you play, segmentation and targeting. Your product choices, which kind of therapies do you want to be in? That also defines the scope of your operations, the boundaries of your strategy, and where you are going to play. So this aspect is very, very important. When you make a winning aspiration, you have to define your field of play. What is the scope and what is the boundaries in which you're going to operate? And which are those places where you will choose not to operate in? So that also is a very, very important part of your strategy, choosing what not to do. Because I can't do everything. I can't dilute my resources and spread myself too thin. I need to be very focused. I need to be very efficient in the deployment of my resources so that I get the maximum bang for my buck. And therefore, knowing what to do and knowing what not to do is also a very, very important aspect, which comes under the frame of reference of where do we play. Now, you set your winning aspiration. You define where do we play. The third thing which is going to drive your strategy forward is how am I going to win? And this revolves entirely around the customer value proposition. One honest thing I want to tell you, my dear friends, if there is no differentiation, if there is no value proposition, you don't have a strategy. So if you're exactly like what everybody else is doing, there is no strategy at all because there is no differentiation. So the driving force, which becomes the magnetic force between your organization and the customer, is the value proposition. That zone which intersects beautifully between the need of the customer and what exactly you are offering to satisfy that particular need. So maybe you have made some important modifications in your product mix, as a result of which your product gets more distinctive features and a greater benefit. Like take, for example, in management of angina, most of the brands of trimetazine are twice a day but you configure your production in such a manner that your molecule actually has got more sustained release, as a result of which the brand is effective for 24 hours and it adds to patient compliance and convenience. So you are delivering a value proposition which is unmatched. So the focus of a strategy is always to deliver a value proposition. Now, it so happens that in our experience, our brands are me too. So you will say that what differentiation can we bring? My molecule is the same as 200 other brands. What differentiation can I bring in my brand? And how can I win in my market? Well, friends, the first thing is look at ways in which you can adapt your technology, your production, your R&D in order to give some distinctive features. Even if you get a small hook, the job of a marketer is to blow this hook through communication in order to enhance the perceived value of the product. If you can't do that inherently in your product, then you have to come out with therapy shaping initiatives that is going to deliver value to your customers, which others are not able to do through your therapy initiatives. So maybe the quality of the information that you disseminate to your customers, you have researched your customers extremely well. You know what are the needs of your customers in terms of their knowledge areas and their information needs for clinical empowerment. Along with your medical team, you work on that and you come out with a comprehensive package through your portal or through your online channels or through direct channels of your medical rep to deliver that customized information to your customers. So that is where you are creating value for your customers. So friends, here I would like to just give you one example in one of my previous companies in terms of how we won in the marketplace. So we were in the therapy of angina management and our rank was number 2. And the top brand was ranked, was number 1, had a gap of about 60 odd lakhs. So it was very close. And when we were working on our annual operating plan, suddenly we talked about it and everybody, came across in unison that maybe we should be number 1 at the end of this year. So we are number 2, but by end of the year, we should aim for a number 1 ranking. Now, our brands were the same as competition. So our focus was in terms of finding out what was the unmet need of the target doctors in the therapy of angina management. So we went about interacting with customers. And one thing that came out very prominently is that angina, more than 50% of it goes undetected. So when the patient lands up with the chest pain and he goes to a primary care physician as the first point of contact, it is most of the time misdiagnosed as gas or a muscular pain, and they get the wrong treatment, which then deteriorates. So if there's something that your organization can do to bridge the gap, that would be a great help, particularly at the level of primary care physicians. So we started doing a lot of sourcing. We went to the literature. And yes, we did find that there are some simple questionnaires that are available internationally as part of the guidelines and as part of the literature, which are becoming cornerstones in angina diagnosis. The only problem was this was into 160 odd questions. And we created a steering committee of 14 experts, all India, who deliberated on this and who looked at it in terms of what is it that we can do in terms of adapting this to our Indian patients. 160 questions is out of the way. So we spent almost 2-3 hours deliberating, and this expert committee came out with a very concise questionnaire of not more than 20 questions, which was very manageable, which should not take more than 2 to 3 minutes for any doctor. So they had to tick mark, and each tick represents a certain score. And when you total all that, if the score goes beyond a certain threshold, then that patient is said to be having a very high clinical suspicion of angina, for which he needs to be referred for higher care, either to a cardio-physician or to a cardiologist or to a hospital. So this was a simple tool that we created, and we gave it out to doctors physically as a questionnaire and even as through mobile apps. We disseminated this in all our CMEs. We created national guidelines for the management of angina. We got it published. So we created a different set of activities. And internally also, we gave a lot of motivation to our field force that the gap between us and the leader has now narrowed down to 40 lakhs. It has now narrowed down to 30 lakhs. So at every point when you are narrowing down, that message was communicated to our field force. And those field force who executed these activities very well and who were showing good growth, their names are blown and their names are highlighted. So you see, there was a series of activities that we did, not just one activity that gave us this package which could add value to the customers in terms of satisfying an unmet need of detection of angina, which was a great problem in our country today. Nobody talked about it, nobody was bothered about it, and nobody did anything to bridge the gap. But thanks to getting that insight from the customer, we knew exactly where the unmet need was and what is it that we can do. We worked on it through a series of activities, right from our field force, right from the marketing, right from medical, the doctors in the external market. And at the end of it, exactly a year later, we jumped ranks from number 2 to number 1. So friends, having very clearly defined what is your value proposition will define how you're going to win in your marketplace. And once again, I reiterate, if you don't have a value proposition, you don't have a strategy. The fourth is, what capabilities must you bring in order to successfully execute your strategies, knowing exactly what is my winning aspiration, where I'm going to play, and how am I going to win? So capabilities is intrinsically linked to how you're going to win. Every organization has got resources. The resources could be in terms of the different functions that are present, like your manufacturing is a resource, your medical rep is a resource, the marketing team is a resource, R&D is a resource. Now what happens is resources can be translated into capabilities when you perform those activities better in your industry or better than your competition. That is when you convert that resource into a capability. Take, for example, you have a very rock solid training process in your company for your medical reps and for your line managers. Your medical reps are groomed into simulating the environment that happens in a doctor's clinic. Your medical reps are trained in terms of adding value through consultative power by talking with the doctors in their own language in terms of understanding the disease and uncovering the unmet needs, and thereby finding opportunities for their brands. Even if there's an objection, the medical rep is able to understand the unmet need behind that objection and the opportunity behind that objection, where he can then match the capability of his product to take care of that objection or to take care of that unmet need or to take care of that opportunity in order to deliver value to the customers. And finally, he is able to close the loop by persuading the customer and validating the importance of that offering to the customer in their clinical practice. When the medical rep is able to come to this full cycle, that is when you have harnessed the resource of a medical rep into a capability that gets unmatched. And when you build this kind of a capability, your customer retention becomes stronger, your acquisition of customer becomes much faster as compared to your competition. And that is when you can get a competitive advantage. What is the meaning of competitive advantage? See, you have a capability or you have a core competence, but that does not necessarily mean that you will get a competitive advantage. Competitive advantage means when, because of your resources, because of your capabilities, or because of your core competence, you are able to generate revenues or ROI faster and greater than your competitors in the industry. So whatever is the industry benchmark in terms of ROI, if your ROI and your returns are higher than that benchmark, it is higher than your peers, that is when you are set to have a competitive advantage. And that competitive advantage then becomes the heart and soul of your strategy. So when you talk of capabilities, you go back to your resources, and then you look at how you can convert your resources into your core competence. Like the example I gave of a medical rep and a very capable medical rep who is a reference standard among the different competitive set. So because of that core competence of a medical rep, you are able to have a faster rate of acquisition. You're able to generate revenues higher than your peers in the industry, which gives you a competitive advantage, which then helps you to drive your strategy forward in order to achieve your winning aspiration. So the fourth thing that you must look at in your strategy is what are the capabilities that we must have. And finally, what are the controls and what are the management systems do we need in order to ensure that our strategy is working? So how do I know whether my strategy is impactful or my strategy is not working? Very simple. I'm sure all of you do that in your reviews. So you have certain matrices, you have certain KPIs. And all these matrices and all these KPIs are inherently linked to your strategy. so that there is a common understanding down the line. This is what my strategy is. This is where I play. This is how I'm winning. These are the capabilities that I'm trying to work on. And therefore, you pick up the right kind of metrics and the right kind of a KPI that is intrinsically linked to your strategy. So take, for example, if a part of your strategy is to deliver value by disseminating information which is of need and which is of relevance to that particular doctor, then for a medical team, their KPI becomes that, how often have I been able to tap the need of the customers, and in relation to the need, how much of packaged, customized medical information of value have I been able to provide to my marketing and sales team to be handed over to their customers. So that becomes a KPI of the medical team, and that is linked to your strategy in terms of delivering value to your customers. So there is a relevance, and the medical team also knows why they are doing what they are doing. And end of the day, what is the outcome for the organization? For a rep, it becomes utilization of all these so that my rate of acquisition is significantly increased. I'm able to get more number of prescribers onto my DVL, and I'm able to augment my revenues. So my customer acquisition rate, my customer satisfaction index, I can do research to understand how satisfied my customer is through my value delivery, which is linked to my strategy. So you pick and choose the right kind of a matrices and build in those control systems which are inherently linked to your strategy. And if all these matrices are progressing in the right direction, ultimately, end of the day, your strategy is working. Because if your customer acquisition rate increases, your customer retention rate increases, your customer attrition rate or customer dropout rate decreases, that is when you have a larger pool of prescribers. That is when you augment your revenues. That is when you achieve your goals, your top line, your growth objectives. So don't look at the end objective in isolation, but look at what are the factors that are lagging on in order to reach that end goal, and build in those indicators into your matrices, into your KPIs. So I'm not just looking at the hard endpoints of financials, of growth, of top line, of profits. Those are very important. I need to track them, but I also need to track the process that ultimately leads to the definition of these goals. How am I focusing on each and every of the processes? What is happening down the line in terms of these matrices? And the more a rep or the more a brand manager or the more a marketing manager or more regional manager is focusing on all these matrices, they become more conscious and more clear about what the strategic imperative is. And they know that they have to put in their very best to impact these KPIs, because when I work on these KPIs, that is when I'm translating my strategy into performance. So these are the systems and the controls that management needs to adopt in order to make sure that your strategy is working. So it ultimately boils down to what counts gets measured. That means that part which is linked to your strategy is what counts. That should get measured. If it is not measured, it's not done. So what gets measured gets done. What gets done finally gets rewarded through incentives, through variable pay, through your bonuses, through performance pay. And finally, what gets rewarded really counts. And the process goes on again. What counts gets measured, and so on and so forth. So friends, putting it all together, it all begins by defining your winning aspiration, which becomes a common ground of understanding for your entire team that unifies and mobilizes your team in the pursuit of its cherished dreams. Where do we play? Defining very clearly my scope and my boundaries, what I will do and what I will choose not to do. How am I going to win? Defining your value proposition that makes you stand out over your competitors. The capabilities, how will you convert your resource into a capability, into a competitive advantage that carries your strategy forward? I gave you the example of a medical rep and a very, very capable medical rep. Similarly, you can have the example of a production team, which is a resource. And if the production team has got a technology that improves its manufacturing process, that makes it having less number of impurities, it has a higher degree of purities, or it has got a more sustained controlled release fashion that gives it an OD advantage, then that resource of production gets translated into a capability or a core competence. But that's not enough, because you need to carry that into a marketplace to earn revenues which are higher than your industry standards. When the revenues that you earn are higher than the industry standards, that is when you are set to have a competitive advantage. And when your systems and processes are so tight that there are multiple linkages to it, and it is all so well done it becomes more difficult for competition to replicate it. And when it becomes difficult for competition to replicate it, that is when you have a sustainable value proposition. And finally, your controls and your measurement systems to understand how effective is your strategy and is your strategy really translating into performance. So friends, it was a real pleasure to engage and interact with you once again after a long time. I draw your attention to my YouTube channel, Slim Talks with Anil Fernandez. Just go to YouTube, you can type this out, and you will see a lot of content as what Mr. Yashwant sir said on strategy, leadership, innovation, and marketing. I would encourage you all to visit my YouTube channel and take the best out of the content that is available for you for your own professional growth and development. And if there's anything that we can be of help to you, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you all very much. It's been a great pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. It is indeed a comprehensive, but to the point learning for us. That is what I and ICS sir are fortunate. Every time some new subject matter experts like you come, we note down the learning point because we need to summarize and we gain a lot. We have done beyond the MBA. Now this is a new topic for me and I have gained a lot. I need to pay royalty for you. That is, we'll see how come I can pay royalty to you. But wonderful learning we have got, sir. Thank you very much. Before I am going to ICS sir and questions, lot of questions are coming. By time you told ki we'll talk about a strategy, I was knowing a lot of debate is going to happen. So going to the Pankaj Srivastava sir is asking questions, Senthil is asking questions. We'll go to that. Let me brief about the learning point you shared. It was wonderful. Sir, you talked about wonderful. You started with the differentiation, right? Between operational efficiency versus effectiveness of the strategy, and very clear-cut demarcation you have given. This is entirely different. Importance of position as the core of the strategy you told. That is very important element. Not only that, you have given very good example of mankind, how they started with cost competencies, cost leadership. I also heard at that time, they were just taking 1% profit. They were taking just 1% profit to share the rural market, interior market. That is what was the strategy, and their value proposition was wonderful, and they captured market. Today they are in top 5. Not only that, you talked about nurture core competencies to outperform rivals. Very important point. And 5-step approach you have given, that is really a good learning and for everyone. First, define your winning aspirations. Second, where you will play. What will be your battlefield? Third thing you told about how you win. Define your value proposition. That you give an example of trimetazidine, that anti-anginal TID dose, and how it can be winning proposition. And you also given a very good suggestion to those companies who say, I have Me Too brand and there are 200 brands. And you have given suggestion that even if your molecule is same, quality is same, can you talk about novel drug delivery system, cost to competencies? If nothing is there, then another unique thing is you can do something for the therapy. Angina detection, you gave a very good example of angina detection. Talk about the therapy so that you will take the leadership position. And the fourth point you told about capability must have resources will lead to capabilities. Capabilities lead to competitive advantage, and that leads to a strategy. That is why it is very important to focus on the capabilities. And last but not least, management system, what you need. And you talked about KPIs and also measuring effectiveness of your strategy. This is what. So really wonderful session, sir. Thank you very much. So
superb. Yashwantji, I must really compliment you. I think you have summarized it so beautifully. Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All the learning points only I could capture, but really the good learning. I have maintained a book, sir. LPC 175, LPC 180, all book. That is what is the learning for. Net gain for us.
I'm sure you're trying to author your next book, right?
Yes. LPC learnings.
LPC
learnings. Sir,
that's a encyclopedia for pharma.
So Pankaj Srivastava sir definitely will come to your questions. Geoffrey Ouma, thank you very much for sharing and appreciating our things. Nasiruddin Chisti, thank you very much. Sergey Senthil, thank you very much, Senthil. We will come to your questions. Over to ICS, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, learning points.
Yeah, so I was really completely mesmerized during the presentation, and I was actually going back into some of the strategies I've been into, especially in Cipla. So, like sir, you talked about the mankind strategy, which was beautifully you explained it. Similarly, when I talk about Cipla strategy, so when I joined, it was more like the Cipla. Their winning aspiration was to provide the affordable medicine to the the Indian as well as the customers across the world. That is how they started $1 per a day therapy in Africa, when the Africans were dying because the MNC's products were not reachable to even today they are not reachable. So Cipla came up with triple drug combination and they gave it at $1 per a day, which has actually swilled the entire pharma industry across the world. How a company can copy 3 molecules and give it, because there is a patent issues and all. But finally WHO and many other bodies intervened, and they actually protected Cipla, because they felt that Cipla's interest is not a profit, but to save the mankind. So I still, sir, because when I was sitting with in one meeting with Dr. Hamid, I was so fortunate, because very few people got to interact with him in a boardroom. So he actually explained, at that time I was heading neurology division, and we have one molecule called Glatimer. And at the time, there was a shortage of the product. Only Natco and another company have it in India, and it was not affordable to most of the patients. So Cipla came up with pre-filled syringe, which is costing almost around 400 rupees or something around. I'm talking about 8 years, 9 years back. And then he asked me, why we should actually give it, because we are not getting any profit out of it. And then we explained, sir, this is this actually matches with our theme of providing the affordable medicine and to reaching to the people, like it's a rare disease, but definitely has to be taken care. Very few companies are there in the market. Then he talked to procurement there itself. In within 1 hour. So he just talked to the procurement where we are getting, it's an imported product, how much it is costing. And after that, finally, he said that, okay, let's not make any profit out of this product, but yeah, we will go ahead with this. And sir, you don't believe me, any top neuros across India, they used to call our reps, I need this injection. So that is how we got entry into many other products like levetiracetam, lacosamide, and all those molecules. They actually started giving prescription. So this strategy, what I understood was very genuine, and it was not a kind of he just wanted to increase the business, because neurology we were doing around 5 crores in a month at the time, so it was nothing for Cipla, but more of a genuine intention that what he had, and that has given the similar kind of thing happened in Africa. And when I visited Uganda, I felt that people look at Cipla people as like gods. The moment you you say that you're from Cipla, anywhere you go, in airport, in any hotel, so that kind of what I don't know what to mention, because now Cipla is coming into news again. They are going to go for a maybe they're going to give it to the Blackstone and all. But the emotional kind of thing, what I have seen in his strategy was always he used to talk about the patient affordability and sustainability. So that and I remember when I was the part of the sales team, the strategy of even HR was to take the fresher. So they used to recruit from MBAs from business schools, and we were all like that is how a graduate or a postgraduate with no experience. And I felt that most of those who are heading as a cluster heads and senior vice presidents today, including Mr. Ramesh Juneja, Mr. Manoj Saxena, Mr. Nikhil Chopra, and all were freshers. And they joined with fresh mind, and they bring a lot of differentiation in the market. And that is how, Cipla differentiated itself in the industry through their appearance, through their reps, through their recruitment, through the bag. When industry was carrying the leather bag, they have given a briefcases. So everywhere there was a differentiation, and today you see the kind of, the company where it has reached. So one thing what for any entrepreneur, the learning is, when you have that winning aspiration, what I wanted to achieve at the end, and then you start taking the action points, as you mentioned, five points you're told about beautifully, like, then define your strategy, and then what capabilities that you have, and is it matching to my strategy or my theme, and then strengthen your skills so that ultimately you're going to achieve this. So this example I just wanted to bring in, sir.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Meanwhile, sir was sharing the example. I could go on through the questions. Lot of questions are there. We have to have LPC part 2 for that session. But some of the relevant question I will take. Okay. First of all, I would like to share the quote from Sergey Senthil. He says, strategy is just the beginning of a journey that requires dedication, commitment, and a well-structured approach to implement. By focusing on a clear vision, alignment, leadership, resource allocation, adaptability, empowerment, team performance measurement, and continuous improvement, you can greatly enhance the likelihood of the strategy yielding success. That is what he has shared. And he has asked one question also. Before that, Sheikh Mohsin Ahmad. Thank you very much, Mohsin, for watching and appreciating. Muthalagan Narasu, great insight. Thank you very much. Would like to go to Pankaj Srivastava, sir. Sir, he is having a relevant question. Pankaj Srivastava is a core team member. Anil ji, now the Pradhan Mantri Jan Aushadhi Kendra increasing all over India. What is your opinion about future of those companies who rely on cost advantage? Because the Jan Aushadhi Kendra is giving 70% discount. Or you feel that they will project the image of their company and then will compete with generics? Sir, your opinion about that? Yes, Pradhan Mantri Jan Aushadhi Kendra, generic pharmacies are coming Daba Bajar 70% less. According to my opinion, sir has also mentioned, if you cannot compete on cost effectiveness, you compete on therapy enhancement. Do something for the therapy. Doctor will understand, apart from giving value, cost value, what additional things you are doing. Right, sir?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Your opinion, sir.
Yeah. So basically, it depends on what is the choice that the organization makes at the end of the day. As I said, strategy involves two things, not only what you choose to do, but also what not to do. So see, one way out is that, fine, I don't want to get into this game because it's very cost intensive and I don't have the capability to do it. So that's fair enough. That's fair enough. So you channelize your capabilities through other initiatives that helps you still to target your customers. You have a reach and you create value for the set of customers that you target, and you earn your revenues and build competitive advantage. Now, take, for example, if you have an ambition and you want to grow, right? Either you have a capability for it or you don't have the capability for it. Now, if I have the capability for it, I really need to organize the structure so very well that through the structure, I'm able to really impact all the stakeholders in the ecosystem. Maybe it begins with the government hospitals at the national level as well as the state level. So I know who are the key stakeholders in that particular ecosystem, and how can I create a very competent team that networks with them, so that through this network, I'm able to reach out to them and I'm able to address their needs, add value to them, and get my products on the formulary. Or I'm able to create a sort of public-private partnership, with the government and state government agencies, so that through these public-private partnerships, I'm able to do something along with the government for the benefit of the public in terms of the health infrastructure, or in terms of simple detection, in terms of simple diagnosis, or in terms of, providing free medicines for the needy. So if I'm able to really impact all the stakeholders in my ecosystem and I have that particular capability, then I unleash that capability in order to compete in the marketplace and add on to my revenues. Now, if I don't have a capability, then either I create one internally, which is going to take time, and the cost is really in terms of the time that you will take in order to build your reputation and your skill set in order to really reach out and make an impact with your stakeholders. If not, then I acquire a ready capability that is already there in the market. So I get into a strategic alliance like a merger, or I get into an acquisition, so that I integrate that in my sphere of operations, and I'm able to deliver that in my marketplace in order to take care of this opportunity of generics. So thanks, Pankaj ji.
Thank you very much, sir.
So
Very to the
very,
point you have given. Yes, sir. I see, sir, you want to add.
just to add to Anil sir's explanation. I think industry has already been through DPCO. So when DPCO first came in, industry was actually completely into shock. Because there were very high priced and there were a lot of brands which were the major revenue generators. And if those are coming under DPCO, how they are going to survive. But what industry has actually completely, come out of that, by increasing the volumes. And that completely, I think no organization has gone into, Anil sir, you can actually tell because you have been into
Yeah.
there during
So
the
I have a very classic example of Plavix that was at 120 rupees a tablet. And we had about 300 customers who were prescribing. It was a 20 crore brand. Overnight, the price became some 11 rupees 50 paise. So there was almost a 90% drop in prices. So the brand value, which was 20 crore, what ICS sir said, suddenly became 2 crore. And then it became a volume game. So at this 2 crore, at 11 rupees 50 paise, we said that we still have a great access. And what we did is we reached out to the next chunk of intervention cardiologists. So our universe has got 5,000 interventions. We had 300 doctors, which is as good as zero, which means 5,000 intervention cardiologists who are price conscious, but restricting or not using Plavix. So we decided that we'll penetrate to these 5,000 people. And we came out with specific strategies to target this rung. We didn't go to the physicians because still physicians had a choice of 3 rupees and 4 rupee drugs. So we didn't go there. We went to the next chunk. We did a lot of programs with them. And, within 18 months, we came back to 20 crore.
Great.
Because of volumes.
Yeah.
Just because of volumes.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, one more question we will take. And that is again, Sergey Senthil is asking another relevant question. Sir, you will agree with me that excellent strategy fails due to poor execution. So can you give some tips to ensure how to ensure the execution excellence? Actually, that should be the next topic for the next month.
Correct.
But some tips you can give. Yes. You can give some tips.
So Senthil, thank you very much. You have actually hit the nail on the head.
Yes,
But
sir.
I think it requires a very pragmatic view from the leaders. See, not every time a strategy fails because of poor execution. It fails most of the time, I do agree. But sometimes, the strategy, the assumptions behind the strategy, or the way the strategy is founded and structured, there could be certain gaps in it, as a result of which it doesn't resonate with the target audience. Now, assuming you have a good strategy, now, how does one ensure execution? I think the point where most of the marketeers falter is these strategies. And I think ICS sir also said that, we sit in the head office and we design strategies. So I think one thing we should always do is we should involve the custodians of execution. When I say custodians of execution, I mean my medical rep, my area managers, and my zonal manager.
Absolutely.
So can the strategy be co-created with them? Like in Sanofi, we had the system called Brand Advisory Council. And in the Brand Advisory Council, we had the field, we had the marketing team, we had the medical team, we had the training team, Salesforce excellence, all relevant stakeholders were there. And we would look at each brand, each growth lever, what is it that we are doing, what is working, what is not working, and what is the feedback of the customers to all that we are doing. And finally, we would take inputs from the field also and try to understand from them in terms of what is it that we can do to do it better, or what are the new things that we would try. So even our reps and their area managers would do a lot of preparation and groundwork along with their zonal managers and NSMs, and they would come with their thoughts and ideas. And finally, after 2 days or 3 days, we would crystallize all that into a common action program. So basically, the impression that we gave to our team is that we are not creating strategies as a marketing team, but we are co-creating strategies.
Absolutely.
So because what happens is, I'll tell you where the system collapses. The system collapses in the cycle meeting. Because in the cycle meeting, if you don't involve your sales guys and the marketing guy goes there and presents it, that is where the resonance comes. That suddenly somebody in the field will perceive that, but this is not going to work. We tried it earlier. Competition is already doing things which is advanced. So you can easily prevent all these things by calling them first only by taking the full competitive feedback, what is happening, and then looking at what's working well and what's not working well for you. So if you co-create that strategy, there is better ownership. And I think a determinant of execution is the ownership. If there is ownership and there's accountability, then definitely that will translate into better execution. So Senthil, I think to answer your question, I think we should involve the custodians of execution more often than what we are currently doing. Strategies should be co-create, taking their point of view, so that in the cycle meeting, the dissonance which happens, that dissonance can be minimized, and both the teams, can be committed. As you said, it requires a lot of commitment also. So both the teams can be committed actually to deliver that strategy. Yeah, ICS or Yashwant.
Excellent, sir. Excellent. So I'm really thankful that you bring in this because I remember sir, in cycle meetings, the moment PMT opens the deck, and shows the strategy, the first question is, this doesn't work in the field. आप कुछ भी बात कर रहे हो, मतलब आप फील्ड वर्क ही नहीं कर रहे हैं, मतलब this doesn't work, doctor is not giving time. So all these things will come, but when you involve them and when you give them the ownership and the kind of in the beginning itself, you involve them, you take the feedback from them, definitely they are going to make it successful because they are the stakeholders and they know that this strategy has been given by them and then it has been made. So yeah, that is how the great brands are made, because not just because of the marketing team or the strategy heads, but because of people, the stakeholders from the medical rep to the CEO level, everybody is involved.
Correct.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Wonderful insights. Now, some more comments. Kushagra Mathur, who is in the global CIPLA global team strategy team, he has appreciated the says Kushagra Mathur says strategy is the backbone of the execution excellence. Thank you very much, Kushagra. We look forward to you as a speaker next time. So he is a part of the strategy. Not only that, Vinod Vaswani, our core team member, is watching. Vinod, thank you very much. Pankaj Sivato, sir, thank you very much. Harumugam Arasan has appreciated. Ashwini Joshi, someone like Ashwini Joshi has said, wonderful learning. Thank you very much. Sir, all the major questions. Sheikh Mohsin has a wonderful session, thoroughly enjoyed. Muthulagan, great insight. Thank you very much. So a lot of comments we are getting today. Thank you everyone for watching, and really it is a wonderful session. We got a lot of learning. Sir, last point from my side, your opinion. But I have heard a lot of times that culture eats the strategy in breakfast, it is said, right? So what I learned with that is, if strategy is wonderful, but the culture of the organization is not good, people not have the very good culture, then there will be a big problem. So because culture is very, very important, organizational culture, what is said. What is your opinion about that, sir?
Very true, very true. I think, see, culture is all pervasive in the context of the strategy. Like, let me give you an example. And I would go to the example of an IBM versus a Microsoft. Of course, it's not related to our industry.
True.
So the culture that was prevalent in IBM, and every employee was taking pride in this culture, that, we have a consensus building approach. So we take time to deliberate. The person who's on the ground is responsible for taking those decisions through consensus. But then that was good in the 1980s. But in the 1990s, when Microsoft started making inroads into IBM, then they realized, that this culture of consensus building is actually going against us, because it's taking a lot of time for decision making. And in the time that is lost, already our customers are shifting to Microsoft. So suddenly they had to adapt themselves, because the environment was changing. And more than spending time on consensus, they had to spend time on really acting fast in order to have that first mover advantage or early mover advantage to match Microsoft. Also, I have another example of strategy and culture from my last experiences in an organization. See, we were a new organization. It was acquired from a previous company, and the system had completely changed. See, earlier there was a certain way of doing business, and in the new environment, the way of doing business was completely changed to a scientific approach. As a result of which, there was a lot of dissonance in the minds of the field force that earlier I was getting business. Now today, because of these things, I'm losing my customer. So there was a lot of change management that was required. And we had to give confidence to our people that we have an open culture, that we are there to hear you out, to empathize with you and to support you. So we started doing a lot of open houses. So this got built into our culture, the culture of open houses. And suddenly the reps and the area managers, they felt assured and they felt confident that the management is there to listen to them and give them the confidence. And from our side also, we could understand how people relate to the strategy of the organization, what they think about the strategy and what is actually going on in their minds. So that gave us a two-way interaction to reinforce the strategy of the company by building in a culture that was more open and transparent. So you're absolutely right. I think culture is all pervasive, which helps you to drive your strategy. And very often the culture should be such that it supports the execution of your strategy. If you don't have an open culture, you have a closed culture, the people down the line cannot have access to the senior leadership teams, then maybe the level of motivation that exists to drive the strategy will be correspondingly lower in the minds of the people. So if we create an open leadership style in which we are accessible, I think that kind of a culture will be better in order to make people express themselves and share how they are contributing to the growth of the company. Good question, very good question. And I like the statement you made, culture eats strategy for breakfast.
That is what I heard, sir. Sir, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I thoroughly enjoyed today's session. We are really grateful, humble, and grateful to you for accepting our invite and to come here as a speaker after a long time. We look forward to you in LPC 175 conclave also, which is to be held on 3rd of September, Sunday. So most of the major questions you have already covered. Ulhas Khani sir, who is in IES College, Bandra, he is also watching, sir, has appreciated the session. Ulhas Khani sir, thank you very much. We look forward to you also as a speaker sometime. Nasruddin Chasti, thank you very much. So before ending the session, I would like to go to ICS sir and Anil sir for closing remarks. ICS sir, your closing remarks.
Yeah, first of all, thanks Anil sir once again for this wonderful session. There was a lot of learning, and one take home for me is always involve the stakeholders from the beginning itself with the strategy, so that you are going to win and you can align everybody to one goal and one mission. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Again, Mahesh, apart, people are commenting. Thank you for a wonderful topic and great presentation of Anil Fernandez, sir. Looking forward for more such topics in LPC. Mahesh, apart, thank you very much, Mahesh, for appreciating. Yes, sir. Over to you, Anil, sir.
Yeah, finally, I think last remarks. See, strategy crafting and execution represents the very heart and soul of an organization. And I think it should involve every stakeholder of the organization, so that there is no dissonance in anyone, that my inputs are not taken into consideration in the formulation of the strategy. Remember those 5 points, and for the execution of the strategy, have relevant matrices which is linked to your strategy, and make sure that the strategy is well understood by your medical team, by your R&D team, by your production team, and they all of them contribute to their efforts in order to make a strategy more effective. So a proper understanding of the strategy by each stakeholder is the starting point to make your strategy work. So thank you. It's been a pleasure as always to be part of LPC. And I wish many more years for LPC, not just 3 years, but God willing, it should go to a decade as well. And all the very best for the 175th program. Thank you. It's been a great pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Still, those who have some questions, they can contact Slim Solutions, right? And sir has given, I thought Slim means very lean, but Slim Solution stands for strategy, leadership, innovation, and marketing. The beautiful name you have given, sir. We look forward to collaborate with you. And thank you very much once again, sir. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ICS, sir, and thank you, Yashwant, sir. Thank you, LPC. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, all the viewers. Thank you. Yeah, you too. Good day.
Have a nice Sunday. Thank you.
Thank you.